Welcome to We're Talking Bears, the show where uncle, nephew, and son bring you the best, greatest, and latest in the Bears experience. Unfortunately, this week, those three, they don't go together.
Man, they don't go together. They don't go together at all.
I'm uncle,
I'm nephew.
and son,
It's
like the
missing.
Bears offense for the first two-thirds of the game, is nowhere to be found.
But here we are,
Here we
talking
are.
Bears.
How you feeling?
Depressed, hurt. Man, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. And honestly, I'll tell you this. The struggles that we've seen from the offense in this game early, not being able to move the ball and score. This is kind of what I'm not gonna say what I expected, but this is kind of what the talk was. Oh, the Bears haven't beaten teams with good defenses yet. This was supposed to be a test for our team to see, like, are we really getting better, or are we just playing poorly coached teams that aren't executing and that aren't actually able to compete with us? And through the first, like you said, 2/3 of the game, 3/4 or into the third quarter, that's exactly how it looked. It looked like we weren't prepared. It looked like what we had been seeing that was success was just due to us playing poorly coached teams and teams that just weren't able to execute. And then magically at the end of the game, we're able to put some things together. Swift has that huge run for a touchdown, and next thing you know, the defense, that being the defense it is, had only given up 12. All field goals, no touchdowns have been given up. So that touchdown we put on the board put us in position to win the game with a touchdown. And so in that fourth quarter, still looking bad, we were able to move the ball. Caleb had 3 times his passing yards in the fourth quarter versus the first 3 quarters, and gave the ball to the O lineman, didn't get in. The defense got it back again. We go down and score. And these guys in 3 seconds found a way to lose the football game. I'm hurt. I don't know why. That's all I can say is that I'm hurt, because when I saw us get the lead, I thought, okay, it was ugly. It was a struggle. And what we've seen, we got a rookie quarterback, so it's like, all right, I don't mind a game that we can learn from, a game that's tough. But when you're in position to win, you got to be able to close games out. And that last play was just disgusting. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Usually games that are close like that end with the team that's down going for some sort of a Hail Mary pass, and it almost never works. Why is it working on us?
That's a great question. You know what? Well, I have a guy that I coach with at school, and he's not. We coach different teams, but bottom line is, um, his sentence, which is very very poignant, is simply that if it comes down to the last second, a lot of other things went wrong. If it comes down to the last second, a lot of other things went wrong. I agree with you. That was you know what? You can't, that probably cost him 20 million bucks over his career. We're talking about Tyrique Stevenson. That doggone foolishness, that lack of respect for the game, that and the fact that I believe it was his hand that tipped the ball the wrong direction. You
Absolutely was
know,
his hand.
and so I mean, just you can't. You got to play to the whistle. Everybody knows that. Everybody tells you that. So, however, here's the good news. And this is what I think the good news is. We didn't get away with that garbage. I think it's more important as a team for the future of the franchise that we didn't get away with that garbage. That was that, like you said, that I mean, let's go through this. This is a team loss, but I'm going to lay a lot of it on the coaching, because flat out, we're just not putting guys in a position to be at their best, and it gets proven over and over again. Look at this. I'm going to go through the drives. So first drive, we get the ball. 3 plays, backwards 10 yards, we punt. Second drive, we get the ball. 6 plays, 30 yards, we punt. That's a little better. Third drive, we get the ball. 3 plays, 9 yards, we punt. That's 2 3-and-outs and 1 6-and-out. Second quarter, We get the ball, 6 plays, 20 yards. We turn it over on downs. We get the ball second time in the second quarter, 10 plays, 31 yards. We punt. At least we got to double-digit plays on a drive. We didn't go far because we're averaging 3 yards, but we got there. Next drive, third quarter, 3 plays, 3 yards, we punt. That's 6 drives. That's barely 100 yards. Barely, if that. I don't think that's, well, with the -10, it's definitely not 100 yards.
Right.
7th drive of the game, 5 minutes left in the third. 5 plays, 10 yards, we punt. What happens different on the 7th drive? We let Caleb go no huddle and audible. Now, this is the way I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that this way. That our brilliant offensive minds that we've spent millions of dollars on are not more effective than a rookie who just stepped into the NFL calling an audible. Now, I'll give you that the defense has less ability to adjust when you're in the hurry up. But come on, it can't be that different. Some of this is simply play calling. How do we know it's play calling? Fourth quarter, 2 drives later, we get to the goal line. Starting with Ryan Poles, we cut one of, if not the best fullbacks in the NFL. We put a backup offensive lineman who's never handled the ball except for to hike it in as a fullback, and then we give him the ball. And with that, we give away the game. Because you know what? Offensive linemen, they're strong, but they have big stomachs. It's part of anchoring. And they got big forearms. And when you slam a ball into a big stomach between big forearms, it doesn't get absorbed. It bounces. The Fridge, he was a freak of nature. You can't pretend everybody can do what the Fridge did. You got cute. And my office mate made this point, which is absolutely true. How much time did they practice that play that destroyed them? How much time did they spend practicing that play? Because if you don't do something, if you don't cut your fullback, and then you don't come up with a stupid gimmick play, and Flus is part of this too, because he has to approve those stupid gimmick plays. If you don't cut your fullback and you don't come up with your stupid gimmick play, then you score there. And even if you get a field goal in the second drive, you can either run out the clock and win, or kick a field goal and win, or get the touchdown you got and win. But the game is yours. And this is the second time this season we've refused to use the right personnel inside the 5 to win a game. That's 2 losses. We should be 6-1. And I don't like should-bes, because should-bes are baloney to me. But honestly, you get to the inside the 5 and you don't try to punch the ball in. That is not the team's fault. That's the coach's fault. Team went out there and did the foolishness that the coach wrote up. This is not Madden. This is not Tecmo Bowl. This is professional football. And to waste time in practice when your offense clearly has issues on gimmick plays that aren't effective is absolutely, positively asinine. And to me, worse than what Stevenson did. I hold Waldron and Flus in more contempt than Stevenson. I back Poles. I back Poles like crazy. But I'm telling you, when you cut KHARI BLASINGAME, put a backup center in his place, and then give him the ball, you've lost your mind. The 3 of them together. Here's my question to you. What temperature are their chairs?
Oh, they're on fire. They're on fire. I promise you, they're on fire. St. Calabaina's hot seat fire. There's no reason that we all know that. And you know what? I don't have any disagreement to what you're saying. I think that those are bonehead plays. I believe that's absolutely on flukes. So I'm not at all saying that this all falls on the team. But what I do want to say is that our offense, outside of the handoff to the old lineman, outside of that, our offense, for most of the plays that get called, finds a hard time executing anything. We went for the fourth down. DJ Moore couldn't get 1 yard. I don't know why we didn't run it there. I would have said that was a bad play call. Why are we not running the ball? But then when they run the ball on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, they don't get it. They don't get it. They give it to their backs. They'll give it to Roshan.
Let me interrupt you. Roshan Johnson is our power back. You're not fooling anybody by not pulling them in, putting them in there. Roshan Johnson is our power back. We got one of the best fullbacks in the game, KHARI BLASINGAME. Why isn't BLASINGAME and Johnson in that lineup? You can put an extra lineman out there if you want to throw. I don't have any problem with Roshan, KHARI, and Kramer coming in. Now you got 1,800 pounds of men in front, and our power back and the best fullback in the game. It doggone stop us, but we don't want to do that. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Me personally, I've seen some, and you're right. I haven't seen Kramer. BLASINGAME's gone now. I haven't seen all three of them together, but I've seen BLASINGAME in there where we didn't get it, where we have 1 yard to get, and we just can't figure out how. And again, like I said, I'm not disagreeing. I believe that they're all in hot water and they all should be in the hot seat. However, sometimes I think that you have strengths and you have weaknesses. Our weakness is our offensive line. And when they didn't address it in the way that I feel like they should have, it continues to be a struggle. So I felt like something changed for the positive, and yeah, it could be the hurry up. Maybe we need to play the whole game from the hurry up. But something changed for the positive in the fourth quarter, and we were able to get 2 touchdowns. We were able to get 2 touchdowns on the board, so much so that we were able to fumble that ball off of Kramer on the 1 yard line, still get the ball back and score and take the lead. And all I'm saying is that you don't beat yourself. You don't beat yourself. If the coach is calling bad plays, then you go out there and you do what you can to execute those plays, and you let it be on the coach. You don't get to it, in my opinion, you don't get into a game where you find a way to be resilient after all the bad coaching calls, and you're like, well, here goes my mess up. We're gonna mess it up. We're gonna go out here and blow the game. If you see the still image of that last play, we have 4 Bears guys fighting each other to catch a Hail Mary pass on the 3 yard line. Why are they on the 3 yard line? 4 guys competing with each other for the ball, and nobody knocks it down. Meanwhile, Stevenson is embarrassing himself because he's out there celebrating and taunting the crowd as if the game is over. So yeah, I'm not saying that this doesn't fall on the coaches for all of the bad decisions that the coaches make. But when you're able to overcome bad coaching calls and you still have an opportunity to win, and all you have to do is stop a Hail Mary play. I would have much rather been doing this Bears episode talking about how where we barely made it through this game and it was some garbage. It was bad coaching and bad play calling, but the defense got us the win because that's what they did the entire game. We didn't give up any touchdowns to Jaden Daniels until silly Tyrique Stevenson decided he wanted to party out there and didn't realize that he should be knocking the ball down. Instead, he tips it back like he's playing tips to the receiver on the other team. And that's all I'm saying, man. I mean, he came out and issued an apology, and, I hope he learns from it. I think he's still going to be, a good player. I still think he's one of our guys that I have confidence in. But to me, you don't lose like that. If it's on the coaches, if they're making a mistake, you let them be the ones, and you let us clearly look and say they're making the mistakes. But you don't go and compound the mistakes by just being stupid. Because I look at it like this. Had the play with Kramer worked, I don't think people would be saying it's such a stupid play. If we were able to get in there, I don't think it would be such a stupid play. But what we know is stupid is doing something that you know is stupid. Some players, it's like, all right, I don't have a great offensive line. I don't know exactly what's the best thing that's going to work. I got a rookie quarterback. Maybe I'm trying things, and maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe that is a bad thing for me as the coach. I'm calling plays that aren't working and that I shouldn't be trying, but I'm trying it because nothing else has seemed to be working. You get what I'm saying? In all game, nothing else was working. So in my humble opinion, Yes, it's bad coaching. Yes, he made some terrible play. That pass in the end, on that drive where they threw that pass in the end zone way over DJ's head on the first down. Like, run the ball. I'm absolutely with you. But you don't shoot yourself in the foot. And this guy pulled out his shotgun, showed it to the entire crowd, aimed it at his foot, and pulled the trigger. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I honestly, I don't even know how many Hail Mary passes I've seen in my lifetime that have worked. But we're one of them. And it's just
Well,
sad, man. It's a
unfortunately,
shame.
I've seen several that worked, and usually it's against
It's
us.
us.
It's against us. Those guys up north made a history of taking us out at the end of games, throwing a Hail Mary.
That's ridiculous. It's
You
ridiculous.
know, and I look at this, but you're right. They didn't play the Hail Mary right. First of all, I don't care if you catch a Hail Mary on the 3 or the 4 or the 5,
Right. Yeah.
because what I'm supposed to do, somebody in that group is supposed to be in that end zone. And if it looks like Joe, John, Bob is going to grab this Hail Mary, they're supposed to destroy them and land. Even if they catch it, if they destroy them and they land with a face full of turf on the 5, it's irrelevant. It
Right.
just pads the stats and the game is over.
Right.
The second thing is, nobody, a bear has to be the deepest man. One of those bears is supposed to be deeper. From grammar school through the pros, it's never supposed to be that a defender is deeper, that a defender lets somebody get 5, 8 yards behind. Somebody was responsible. It probably was Stevenson,
Right.
but somebody was responsible for being the deep man back. Somebody was the jump man to knock the ball down, but the jump man's supposed to knock it down.
Damn. Right. We had
Here's
four
here's
guys
the
and none of them
issue.
touched it.
It was, I'm going to go back to, it never should have happened. And here's the thing. Daniels barely got that ball to the 5.
Right.
He didn't get it he didn't get it to the
He
end zone.
didn't. No, he didn't. No, he
It
didn't.
barely got there. If it had made it to the end zone, it'd have been about waist high. He barely got that ball there. That ball was on its way down. So what else happened? How many yards did we donate in 20 seconds to put them in a position to pull it off? Again, I'm going to say horrible coaching.
Yeah, I can't
Horrible
argue.
coaching. Their
They played
drive
right before
started
that.
with 25 seconds. You're telling me this defense that can hold them out of the end zone for 59 minutes and 35 seconds can't keep them from reaching the middle of the field in 25 seconds? No. We pulled everybody back and gave away the under and the sidelines. They were able to dink and step out of bounds and keep time on the clock.
And
Ridiculous.
I said it. The
It
very
should
play
have
before that
it should
never
have
should have happened.
never been. It's the play that should have never been from 100 angles. So as much as Stevenson needs to be disciplined, and it will probably cost him over his career several $1,000,000 because he's shown some character flaw, right? That when you're sitting down and you're negotiating, you want a max contract, even if he becomes as good as JJ and wants a max contract, this is going to show up. Yeah, but are you really that guy that can lead? Or are you just the guy acting a buffoon that we saw?
Right.
That's not leadership. You know, so it's probably going to cost him some money. But aside from that, it's the play that never should have happened. They shouldn't have been in range to throw the ball. They didn't earn the right to be in range to throw the ball. Flus and the defense donated that distance to them. They donated that drive began on their 24. They didn't even start on the 30. If I'm running that team, I send my team out. I say they got 25 seconds. They don't get a first down. They don't get a first. Make them use 3 downs and go for it on 4th down. If they get a first, they spent 4 plays and all of their timeouts. They're crossing the 34 and they're out of time. Go ahead. It's too far for a Hail Mary. They would have had to do the silliness play, the rugby play.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just too many colors of horrible coaching. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring up a name. You're in your chair, right? You're sitting down.
Yeah, I'm sitting down.
They're Cody Parkey of coaching. We know inside the first half of the season that these guys are not playoff quality. Their play calling, I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. Our team can play. Our guys know how to do their jobs. We're ready. We've gone through adversity and come out the other side. We've been the worst team in the league for spells and become a really competitive team. But when it's coming down to it, the number one job of a head coach is going to be able to make the right play call. An offensive coordinator who's brought in this system with a defensive coach has to make the right play call. And it looks like we've got two guys that don't know how to make the right play call in the tough moment. And that's a Cody Parkeyism. I don't care if you're an 80% kicker. If you're going to miss the clutch kicks, I know up front we're going to get in the playoffs and have a clutch kick circa 2018 when Cody Parkey kicked us out of the playoffs because he couldn't hit a chip shot with stress. These guys, and I'd say learn. You know, we talk about learning. Shane Waldron, we've been through this game. We went through this with the Colts. Foolishness inside the 5. I think that's what we need to name this episode. Foolishness inside the 5. We've been through this with the Colts. We've been through this. We just came. The team had a meeting with this man. The team captains came through and sat down and met with him. And what do we get? More foolishness. Did you see the clip of Jackson Smith-Njigba when he was asked about Shane Waldron's offense around the combine? Did you see the clip?
No.
Let me tell you what his response was. He said, when they asked him, hey, well, the Bears are getting this Shane Waldron and his offense, and, you know, what do you think? What do you think the Bears are going to get? And JSN turns and says, are we live? And the guy says, yeah, of course we're live. He's a really nice guy. Now, he didn't talk football. And he asked if he was being recorded before he responded. Now we know why. Yeah. Now we're looking at the results. Why would a guy say that? And clearly he's not trying to disrespect the man in public because he asked, is this live? But that's a problem because if you say, hey, what about Uncle's character? He's like, am I being recorded? What about my nephew? You got the record on? You know, it's a
You're not going to tell anybody what I said, are you?
Yeah. Right. And he was asking him about football. And his response was, he's a good guy. So, come on, man. Come on, man. Look, he's not being paid millions of dollars a year to be a good guy. I'm not saying you shouldn't be a good guy. You get what I'm saying. It's assumed you're going to be a good guy. That's assumed, right? I'm going to fire you if you're not. But I'm not paying you to be a good guy. I'm paying you to come up with an offensive system that works, not be out and not and something that works consistently with the talent we have. You think about it, it's always about, with every sport, is always about that. Nobody's perfect. Steve Kerr wins multiple championships because he comes up with an unstoppable system for a bunch of guys that mostly don't play defense. If the Golden State Warriors had to rely on defense to win, we'd be talking about how terrible they were all those years. Am I wrong?
No.
Steph Curry, defender, is Steph Curry ever going to get defender of the year?
Draymond and Clay were pretty good defenders, but
Draymond and Clay are pretty good. I'm not taking anything away from Draymond and Clay, but if you got two defenders on the floor, all I need is 3 scorers to beat you every game. You're not going to win. But what did Kerr come up with? he came up with a plan to get the greatest shooter we've ever seen more shots than we've ever seen.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, when he's hitting 400 threes in a season, it's unstoppable. You can't win, right? And same thing, you know, you think about Belichick and Brady. Out, there were years where they won the championship because of the defense. There were years they won the championship because of passing. There were years they won the championship because they ran the ball like crazy. Whatever they had talent-wise that was better than other teams. My buddy's, my buddy, his brother played under Parcells, and Parcells told him, "I don't need you to be good at a bunch of things. I need you to be great at one thing, and I'll find a way to get you the ball. Just you got to be better than the other NFLers who are already excellent at one thing, and I'm going to get the ball to you. I'm going to get the ball to you because this one thing, you know, is Justin running. When Justin turns on the wheels, even Lamar's got to go, wow, right? It's you know, it's Brady finding the open man. You know, it's Peyton Manning making adjustments at the line of scrimmage. Nobody does those things like those guys, and it shows up. What are we better than everybody else at when it comes to offense? Because we've seen defense where we're better than everybody at a lot of things. But when it comes to offense, what is the thing we're better than everybody else at?
Look, have weapons that we can't get to. It's almost like getting robbed and your gun's in the trunk. It's bad, man. It's bad.
I'm outside of the club and my gun's in the trunk and it's locked and I don't have the key.
And that's how it feels. And you know what? And like I said, I don't have any debate to that. I guess for me, I don't know. I don't know what our identity is. I don't know what works for us because we hardly see anything work. And I guess sometimes that's what's hard for me to put so much onus on the coach. Now, this was bad. Now, honestly, this was bad. The coaching has been bad. So I'm not taking anything away with that. But what is our strengths? What should we lean to? We can say let's run the ball, but then sometimes it doesn't work. Even with Swift, he got that touchdown, but until that breakaway touchdown, where was he? What was he doing? The run wasn't working. It's not like, oh, we're the run is working. Let's just stick with it. Let's just stick with it. The run wasn't getting us down the field. We like you read the drives off. Those drives were going nowhere. They were going nowhere. So much so that when we get to 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, they throw the ball. They throw the ball to DJ and like, man, if we can get it in his hands, maybe he can get to the first down. That's 1 yard away. They don't have confidence in our guys. They don't believe that if we put Roshan out there and if we have the offensive line in front of him, we can hand it off and he can pick up the yards. There's no confidence in that. So in my opinion, what are we good at? What is our identity supposed to be? And yeah, maybe that's a coaching thing. But before we got these new coaches that we were all excited about, we still weren't able to move the ball. It's like these were the issues we had last year with Justin in many ways. And so for me, like I said, I have no debate to try to defend the play calling by the coaches, especially on that last drive. And of course, some of the bonehead decisions we made on offense. But when you know that your strength is defense, I mean, imagine, let's look at it this way. Imagine when we had Urlacher and them taking us to the Super Bowl. Imagine them keeping us in games, bringing us back, and then right at the end, the defense who's gotten us here just has a mental lapse. It's like you guys held them to 12 all game, but you give up the Hail Mary. You know what I mean? Like you give up the Hail Mary. And granted, like you said, we shouldn't have been there.
Who's the leader? Because if you harken back to the Urlacher years, even if they had made or Singletary's,
we had some.
You know, I've heard Singletary's team say it. Hey, yeah, sometimes they make the call and we get in the huddle.
They'd be like, no.
And we say, I ain't running that.
Right.
And it's like the coach said, hey man, the coach ain't out here getting hit.
Right.
You know, I mean, sometimes, Jim, think about it, when you look back and watch some of the 85 Bears and McMahon, there were touchdowns. I would watch for it because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. There were touchdowns where the angriest person on the field when the Bears scored was not the opponent. It was Ditka.
Right.
He was breaking his clipboard, which we know what that means. That wasn't the play he called.
Right.
He called a play. They got in the huddle, and they said, "Forget that. Go long. They
Right.
can't keep up with you." You know,
Right.
they said, "We ain't wasting time. We're gonna win and move on." And Dick could be the only one on the Bears sideline, angry, throwing a fit, and you see McMahon trying to avoid him because he's going all around. Dick is looking for him. McMahon sneaking around the back like a kid. But it takes some of that. Urlacher wouldn't have let this happen. Mike
Absolutely.
Brown wouldn't have let this happen. Tillman wouldn't have let this happen. First of all, leadership on the field. Somebody would have called Stevenson out. What the heck are you doing?
Right.
And told him where to be. Secondly, there's no way Urlacher, they could tell Urlacher, take the whole defense and send them all down. No, I'm not giving up the first 25, 30 yards.
Right.
Urlacher would not have bailed when they're 75 yards from the end zone. He might have been 15 yards back, but he'd have been on a forward run to destroy somebody. It just wouldn't occur. It wouldn't occur. 25 seconds, no way. You'd have to have Tom Brady, Randy Moss, and in their prime, Barry Sanders, Emmett Smith, Marvin Harrison, Jerry Rice, and the Dallas Cowboys' best offensive line of all time to even think about running that defense ragged in 25 seconds.
Right.
It just wouldn't. It's not going to occur, and it's a shame that we are lacking. I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna while we're talking about issues. I like our defense. I like our personnel. I don't have any problem with the guys. I got a problem with Stevenson right now. That was terrible, but you know what I mean in general.
Yeah.
I don't think Roquan Smith would have let that happen.
What you mean on defense?
I don't think he would have let it happen. I think if they called a play into his headset that was that asinine to give up the first 25, 30 yards, I think he would have audibled off of that or just not told him. And they could scream at him later. Scream at me later. I'm keeping my linebackers up here.
Right.
We're not giving up 20, 25 yards so they could take a shot at the end zone. That's all it took. We gave them 23 yards. They took the shot. They won the game.
Right.
You know, so
there's just. I was pissed off at that play before the Hail Mary. So pissed off because one, they already, if I'm not mistaken, already had burned that last timeout they had in the middle of the field for the play before that. They called a timeout. So that play where they let them get out of bounds, it's like all you got to do, because they're not close enough to do a Hail Mary from here, all you have to do is tackle them in bounds. The game is over.
And here's one other.
I'm not allowing you to get out of bounds when you got 7 seconds, 9 seconds left. I'm not letting you get out of bounds. This next play is going to end the game, period. So I completely agree with that.
But now I'm going to go to some of our other issues. Cole Kmet, 1 target. You got one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. You throw him the ball once, and it was only because that it was an audible. And people could say, well, they were covered. Well, you know what? Keenan Allen's not covered if one man is draped all over him. DJ Moore's not covered if one man's draped all over him. Cole Kmet's not covered if one man's draped all over him. And if we're that easy to cover, we're calling the wrong plays. They know.
Was this one target the 2-point conversion?
No. That was the one where Caleb was running, amazingly avoided the sack, looped around, ran, threw it crossbody, and Cole caught it and picked up a first and like 14 yards.
That was Keenan. Well, I thought that was Keenan.
No, I thought that was Cole. Well,
that was Keenan Allen. He escaped the sack. He was running to the side, and then instead of running for the first, he ended up dumping it back across his body. Yeah, that was Keenan. I think the one to Cole.
Well, I'm not sure which one Cole had then.
The 2-point conversion.
No, but that doesn't count for yards.
Oh, okay. Well, man, I don't know.
Yeah, or a reception.
I don't know. But yeah, you're right. We don't use him. We don't use him much. I remember the first couple games of the year. I don't remember seeing him much at all. The first game,
we didn't throw him the ball. This is a design of the offensive scheme. One of our best weapons, don't bother getting around to him. When we use him, he gets 2 touchdowns in a game. And then we move away from him. This is the stuff we used to complain about in the Nagy years. Why aren't we doing what works? That's how you develop a personality as a team.
Right.
Other teams know you're going to do it, and it works anyway because you're better than them at it.
Right.
And honestly, it also tells you who you are. Because if you're doing something over and over again and you're not better than the other teams, you either need new personnel or a new playbook.
Right.
That's what Washington did to us. They threw for 300 yards. They're doing their thing, throwing the ball, and they're flat out just saying we're better at this than other teams. And amazingly, we held them to 18 points. They had a phenomenal outing against us, but just couldn't score.
Should have been 12.
Yeah. And why didn't they kick the extra point?
I was wondering that too. They just were like, forget it, the game's over. I was wondering that too. It's not like baseball. You get a hit and everybody just stops once that one run.
You were supposed to kick the extra point, but
no, I know. I don't know what they did. They were too excited. They probably just all left. They're like, you know what?
They were caught up in unbelievable unbelief.
Right.
But again, and what happened to the hot hand? You sit back and doggone it, Swift was the hot hand. And you don't give him the ball. You give him the ball instead of the fullback, he has 2 touchdowns and 130 yards. We win. I mean, as ugly as the White Sox when they won the World Series, used to call it winning ugly. You just find a way to win.
That year. The Sox whooped everybody that year in the playoffs.
They did, but they played small ball. And they used to call it winning ugly.
Mm. Yeah,
because we were beating people by getting singles and doubles. Yeah. But you know what? You find a way to win. You score more points than the other team. That's 15 was plenty of points. It wasn't a lot. It was little. We had 2 shutout quarters, but it was enough to win. I don't know what to say, man. This is I'm not optimistic.
I have something to say.
I'm not optimistic, not because we lost, but because of how we lost.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's crazy? This was the game. I had us winning these next 3, and I was like, this was going to set us up to go into the division games. And now I'm like you. But you know what? Let me say this, and this is kind of off the subject of football, but it was something I was paying attention to on Lakeshore Drive as I was heading downtown the other day. You know what street the Bears stadium sits on? Waldron. And it's making me think, did you guys actually pick a coach, or did you see the name of the street and say, get us that guy? Because it's like, man, well, how do we keep running into these problems? How do we keep running into these coaches that after a few games, a season, 2 seasons, we're like, oh no, get this guy out of here. We need the right people. The right people.
We need and sometimes, what's the old adage? Dance with the girl that you brought to the dance, or whatever it is.
I don't know that one.
It's something like that, man. I don't remember exactly, but sometimes your coach's name is Doug Collins, and you got to fire him and go get Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
Sometimes winning some games isn't enough. And as much as, again, I love Flus, but he's not proven to be the play caller, and he's not proven to be the guy that can get us over the hump. Last year they could blame it on a lot of stuff, but right now, this team is it's not a great team, but it's sufficient. We should not have lost. We had, if you're telling me that they have to win on a Hail Mary at the last moment when they had us doubled up on yards, they shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have won. That's like in chess. I got your queen. I got both of your rooks, and I still have mine, and I lose. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something's wrong with my playing ability. So maybe Flus, our guy Flus, who's brought us this far, maybe maybe this is as far as he can carry us.
Yeah.
But I don't. Waldron's not showing me much because Waldron's got an arsenal. He's got an arsenal, and if this isn't good enough, I don't know what is, because I think that we have better talent than Washington. I think if we traded offensive coordinators with Washington, and we could have chosen him, if we traded offensive coordinators with Washington, we're a different football team. He's the first-year offensive coordinator for Washington.
And that's sad, man, because how do we keep missing? How do we keep missing?
We're picking the wrong people, and I'm not saying it's completely wrong. Let me not be too extreme. Again, all the credit in the world again for training the guys up and getting them ready to play in the season, because we're not sitting here saying we're not prepared to do this. Getting them ready during the week, making the right decisions to prepare. All of those things, I think these guys are doing a phenomenal job at. I think our guys are ready. I don't think we have a lot of talent on the offensive line. I know we don't, but they seem to be as ready as they can be for their talent level.
Yeah.
You know, you don't expect Bill Winnington to score as much as Michael Jordan. For those that don't remember, Bill Winnington was a backup center for us and does some announcing. But no one's looking for him to. But he got to get some rebounds.
Right.
I don't need Winnington to score. I need him to get some rebounds and play defense.
Right.
Jordan is there. Jordan is going to drop 50. Same type of thing. I don't need you to be the best offensive line in the world. Keep him upright for 2.5 seconds so he can get the ball. So he can go through 2 or 3 reads and get the ball to one of these super receivers that we purchased. Give him 2.5. Come on, man. Here's the crazy sentence. It takes about 2 seconds for that guy to get out of his stance and get to where Caleb's standing. So asking for 2.5 is giving me a half a second of contact. Put your hands on the man and slow him down. If you give me 3 seconds, you've given me a second of contact, because just if nobody's there, 1, 2, they're there, right? Because the guys, you take the hike and you take 3 steps back. You're in the shotgun. You take 3 steps back. You're 10 yards back. It's going to take almost 2 seconds for you to go from 0 to 10 yards. 1.5 for the best edge. But I need your hands on the guy. I need you to give me 1 second of block.
Yeah.
I don't need 4 seconds every play to get the ball off a perfect pocket. Give me 1 second of blocking. Give me 2.5 to 3 seconds of play. And let's design plays where we're scheming guys open. Simple stuff. Slants, crossing patterns, crossing routes, flooding a zone, forcing man-to-man coverage on another side. Come on. It's still football. When it's 4th down and 1, give me 1,800 pounds of men hitting up front. I don't care if they're the best blockers or just all y'all push at the same moment, and don't let the defense know when you're hiking the ball.
Right.
Go a silent count and hit them. Even if you're at home. Hard count, silent count. Walk up to the ball, look, hike, and hit them before they're ready. Give me 1,800 pounds worth of men. Push. What else can we say?
4-3. Should have been 6-1. Should have been 5-2. 4-3. Now we got Arizona. Man, then we got the Patriots. Then we got division games coming up. And I'm not ready to throw the towel in on the season. They need to get it together, because there's way too much potential on our side. We have way too many good guys. And I want to see us taking a step forward and stop with all these steps backward. Or for every time we go forward a little bit, we get a flag and we're going backward. That's how it feels. It's like we're always going 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. And I'm tired of that.
1 step forward and 2 steps back. And it's not acceptable, man. It's too many mistakes, too much foolishness. It's just not good. Not good.
The most painful part was my level of excitement when I thought that we had pulled through to get the W. when we finally got in the end zone after fumbling on the 1 yard line, when we finally got in there and took that 15-12 lead,
what heart it took to get back and do it. That takes heart, man. It took heart. The whole offense, again, leadership. I'll give Flus credit on leadership. Those guys don't give up.
Right.
And that's part of his leadership. But then at one point, they're going to lose trust in you because they're going to look at you and say, as much as everything else this guy is doing is great, the next thing out of his mouth is going to be dumb as crap, and it's going to be the play we need to run.
Right.
And at one point, you're going to look at your leader, and he's going to say something. You just know in your gut that was stupid, and you want us to go run that, and we all know that's stupid.
Yeah.
But I can't in the middle of the game. I can't call you out.
Right.
I could talk to you afterwards, but that's not helping, man. This is too many bad play calls that have to be called out.
Yeah.
Warren needs to have polls in his office and say, hey, man, too many years of no offensive line. It's 4 years in. This ain't Ryan Pace's offensive line. 3 years, fourth year, right?
Yeah.
Fourth year in. No, third year in. This ain't Ryan. This offensive line ain't Ryan Pace's fault. It was when you showed up. It is not now. Foolishness. Oh, we don't need a fullback. You're instead of if you put Blasingame in there, I guarantee you're 6-1 and not 4-3 on those 2 games. Go. You know what? People are doing it, man. What's the Steelers' record? 5-2, right?
5-2. Yep.
5-2. They're winning old school. I'm not saying Russell doesn't throw the ball up now and then, but mostly his defense and being able and Najee Harris running people over.
Yeah.
They are, and the other team in their division, Baltimore, when King Henry gets going, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
That division, a running team is coming out of that division, and may go all the way to the Super Bowl. Stop playing. San Francisco's ruled the NFC by being able to run the football. McCaffrey's down. They can't rule the NFC right now.
Right. No, you're right.
I'm not, Brock Purdy's thrown for 4,000 or 5,000 yards. Deebo Samuel, phenomenal receivers. These guys are great. But when McCaffrey went down, that machine, that machine was broken. And their ability to run the rock goes back to Colin Kaepernick. When Cap was there, they were ruling the NFC by running the rock.
Yeah.
And last year, they ruled the NFC by running the rock. Not that they never threw it, but it was their unstoppable run game that carried them all the way to the Super Bowl and to overtime in the Super Bowl. Just ran into a juggernaut named Kansas City. They'd have been Super Bowl champs if they faced anybody else. So,
and what's crazy?
There's a time in football to put on your pads, pull up your jock, and lace up your cleats, and put your hat on, and go push the ball across the goal line. It's part of football.
Yeah. And you know what? I wanted to give a shout out to the defense because only giving up 4 field goals in that game was impressive because we couldn't get anything going on offense. That was extremely impressive. Hats off to those guys until Stevenson on that last play, but for sure, hats off to them. And we did it without Brisker and Gordon. So
yeah, 2 of our best defenders.
Right.
With Brisker and Gordon out there, we win the game. Brisker doesn't let that garbage happen
at all.
Gordon doesn't let that garbage happen.
Like I said, man, I'm just hurt.
And again, it's not just a W, man. It's not just a W. It's how we lost. I don't mind if we lace them up, put on our hats, and somebody's better.
Right.
They didn't prove they were better. They proved we made bad decisions, both from the sideline and on the field. Not acceptable. Well, I'm Uncle.
I'm Nephew.
And we're depressed about talking Bears.
Man, I'm hurt. They gotta give me something better next weekend. I can't keep doing this.
They gotta give me something better all year. This
Yeah.
can't, this is the second time this garbage has happened. It can't happen again.
One
First
game at
time
a
is a
time.
mistake. The second time is not a mistake.
Yeah. Second time makes you look at the first time and say, maybe that wasn't a mistake either. Yeah, they got to get it together. You're absolutely right. And we're going to see, man. Somebody else was just mentioning what we talked about last season, and how we don't get rid of coaches mid-season. And I'm just tired of hearing that narrative. If these guys can't get it right, get them out of here. That's how I feel. I'm tired of the same old song and dance. I want to win. And we got guys out there that can win. They're proving it to us. We haven't given up 3 scores, 21 points, maybe one time this year, if that. No teams are scoring on us. We've got to be able to win games like this, because all we need to do is go out there and score a couple of times. That's what our defense is showing us.
If our offense averaged 22 points, we're undefeated.
We're undefeated. We're undefeated.
22 points, drop 22 points a game. I don't mean average, because we probably do with the blowouts that we've had. But if the bottom of our offensive production was 22 points, we're undefeated.
We're undefeated. And we're looking dangerous. We're looking dangerous.